Hello everyone. How is everyone doing? Hello. I see there are already some people waiting in the chat to start for the show to start. We will be waiting a little bit more for maybe some more people to come. Hey Tom, nice for joining. Yeah, so a little bit about this session that I'm going to do today. So you will maybe see me looking around a lot. So this is a part of a screen where I will be coding. Then here I can see the comments. I have to check it there. And then here there is stuff like the Streamlabs OBS where I check if the video is still all right and everything. So I also can change the scenes here. So I need to have that open, and I can also see the messages there. So if you see me looking around a lot, that's why. Yeah, so today is going to be a live coding session or live tutorial where I try to teach you from scratch how to get started with Vue.js. Oh, hi Srikar, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. Yeah, so why is this live? Why I'm not doing a regular tutorial? I wanted to do a tutorial for a long time, but editing stuff is way too time consuming and I don't have a lot of time right now. So I opted for this experiment where I try to make a tutorial live. There are some disadvantages to this. Obviously, because yeah, it's a lot more trying, like watching me do stuff rather than like very quickly showing how it's done. But thanks everyone for being here. I think we can get started. We have 5 viewers. By the way, if you didn't subscribe to my channel yet, I would be happy if you would do that now. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, let's go. So where is this live scene? All right, so you see me in the bottom right corner, and this is my screen. All right, so let's just start by creating a new folder. This is, oh yeah, good question, Hacker Daddy. This is going to be a tutorial where we just look over the Vue essentials. So we are not going to build a single page app. We are going to build Vue.js into a regular website. So we don't need to we don't need to use npm, nothing. We just load it from a website and we use it in the application. So it's a workshop. Yeah, you can say it's a workshop, yes. All right, so let's create a folder. It's called Vue Basics. And I open this in my VS Code. All right. So here I will create a new file, which is index.html. And then here I will have to check how big it has to be. So I will try with this. So here we are not going to use any more files. So I'm going to close this so we have more space. And let's start with just creating a regular HTML file. And we have here Vue Basics with Mark. And just to see if our website works, we start a live server, which starts, oh, it opened on another screen. Hold on, I will pull it here. All right, so this is, all right, this is what we're working with. So I zoom in a little bit. Hey Tim, thanks for joining. Hey Chris, thanks a lot, Chris, for the compliment on the thumbnail. Yeah, so we are going to do this. So every time I change something here, it changes here. So we don't need to refresh anything. That's why I have, that's because I have the live server. All right, so we want to get started with Vue.js. So let's just go to Vue.js.org. It's the official website. Get started, and then to the installation. Oh, let's make it a little bit bigger. And here I want to start with Vue 3 and installation. Yeah, we want the CDN package. So hey Michael Doyle, thanks for joining. So yeah, one very unique feature of Vue.js is that you can integrate it in an existing website. Well, in this case, we are going to create a new website, but you can do exactly this with any existing website. So you just pull in the script tag as such. By the way, is the font size big enough? If not, I'd bump it up a notch. All right, so we create this, we integrate this this JavaScript file from Vue.js servers. So we don't need npm or nothing to get started with this. You can even, if you have a application that uses maybe PHP and jQuery, you can just use Vue.js to make one small part of your application Vue ready. So you can just have small parts in your application that are Vue powered. You don't have to create a whole new app. So this is nice to get started. Hey Francesco, hey, thanks for joining. All right, so yeah, first we need a container. Everything that's going to be in this container will be Vue powered, because we are going to add this. So what we have access to here is well, let's do create. We need create app because we're creating an app from Vue. It's a function that's in the Vue library, and with that we are creating an app. What we see what that is later, and then we mount it to the DOM. And to what part? To this part. So let's just create the app. Here we have a couple of possible values. So we start with data, and it returns an object. And let's say we have their message. It says hello world, for example, the classic, of course. And now we have the app, and we need to mount that app to one part of the DOM, any part you like. I choose this element with the ID of app. So let's see what happens. Oh, let me, right here. Okay, we already have an error, this or not. Hold on. I will, yeah, this is better. Nobody cares about the Chrome updates. All right, missing template or render function. Great. This is quite embarrassing. I never I never used this. I usually have the single page app, but let's see what's going on. Component is missing template or render. Let's just go to the snippet here in the do they have a snippet? Create app, render. I don't. Vue 3 mount. Let's just go through this thing. Someone who knows Vue knows what's wrong here. So we mount it. Create app. This is exactly what I did. Or not. I'm not going to use the setup function here, Tim. Just hold on. So we have data. This is a function. Here's the function as well. We return a object. Am I tripping? Let's just copy. Oh crap! What a great start to this thing. All right. What? Are you kidding me? I tried this before. I swear it just... There's an ID with app. Hold on. Where did I make a typo? There. Now I have it exactly copied as is. Maybe because there's nothing in the DOM yet. So if we name, yeah, okay, right. Yeah, Tim, you were right. I needed to add. Yeah, okay. So the content of the app here was empty. Thanks. So it didn't have a template, which is what we are going to add here. So it didn't know what to do with it. Okay, great. I usually do it like this notion, because I don't know why, but I'm more familiar with that. Here, like this. Oh, come on. Return, and then let's say message hello world. All right. And then we can display the message here. Okay. So yeah, now okay, thanks everyone for the help. All right, now so to start, we have this data thing. Those are variables, and when this variable changes, it changes in the DOM automatically. So let's try it with, let's say we have a counter and we start with 0. So this is always the initialization. We start at this, and then later on we can change it. So let's just go ahead. By the way, using a Mac to stream all of this is not a great idea, because everything is so slow now. Everything has a little bit of a delay, which is yeah. Never panic, remain calm, you got this. Thanks, Chris. All right, so we wanted to display the counter here, so that works. And so now we will just add a button, and in that button we I just add a plus. So we just want to increment our counter, and what we have to do here is in Vue, to have events, we have an add and then the event. So add click, add key up for inputs and so on. So this is a click event, and what do we want to do on the click event? We want to change the counter here. So we can just go ahead, go counter, and add 1. So everything that's in here is JavaScript code. It's like you have on click on in regular JavaScript, and this is in Vue, you have this add. So let's try it. This is the counter, the button. All right, so it counts up because we set this. So this is nice. We also want a button to decrease the counter. So let's just do one with taking away one. So we have both. So now we have this kind of thing. We can add it and we can take it away. So what happens if now we want to avoid going below 0? So we could do something like this. If counter blah blah blah, then do -1. But it's going to be a lot of code for an HTML markup, so we will just create a method to do this. So I will leave this empty for now. And the first thing here was data, and now we can add methods. It's just a collection of methods we can trigger from our app anywhere in the app. So we call this increase counter. No, we wanted the decrease counter. And what we're going to do is, so here is important when we work in the functions and in other things we see later, computer properties, for example. Don't worry about that now, we see about it later. But we this Tim says the video is slightly not aligned with the audio, which is strange. Oh, well, I have to figure out how to stream this well, because all the streaming takes a lot of power away from. I can add a delay to the mic. Is it a lot of delay? Do the others hear the delay as well? Just let me. I will continue and I will take a look later at this. Next stream, yes, exactly, Ben. Tim. All right, so here to access these things, we always need to access this with this. So we don't need it here in the markup, but we need it here in the JavaScript code. So we access it with this .counter, and then we do the same thing as before. So we just we can either put this to execute it, but there's a shorthand for that. We can just take away the parentheses if it doesn't have a parameter or an argument. So now it should work the same as before. Yes, still works, but now we can do something like the if, only if the counter is is above 0. So if it's 0, you can't decrease the counter. So let's see. So now what counter? Oh yeah. What did I say? We need this dot counter. All right. Yeah. All right. So perfect. Now, Hacker Daddy says, I am getting not let with audio video. I didn't get that. Chris, yes, Vue is my first framework. I tried React with Gatsby once, and I found it not that intuitive. So I stuck with Vue for the moment. All right, so now we have this. So we can increase our counter, decrease the counter, and it stops at 0. So now we can look at something that's called conditional rendering. So we want to render something. So let's say we have here counter, and then the counter, right? So we want to make a condition. If the counter is 0, we want to display something else just for the sake of trying this. So let's say we put this in a div. I know you should use divs for everything, but I will use it here. When the counter is 0, you could disable decrement button. Yes, we can do that. We will do that in a second, Chris. Thanks. That's a good idea. All right. So here there's something that's called v-if. So v-if, if this whatever is in here, so true, it renders it. If it's not true, it doesn't render it. So if we put here, if counter is 0, no, if the counter is not 0, show it. So there's nothing there, and when I increment it, it appears, and then it goes away again. But we want to display something else if that's not the case. So else count, let's just say the counter is 0. Thank you, Chris. Yes, it's my first time doing this, and it's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm having fun so far. I hope you guys out there as well. So now when the counter is 0, it says the counter is 0, and when I increment it, it just says counter and then the number. All right. So what Chris suggested is a cool thing. What he wants to do is disable the decrease counter when the value is 0. So I could either just hide it or I could disable it. So with disable, I don't know if it's disable is true or disable is disable. Just to try this. Hello. So maybe disable is disable. It's probably disabled is true. All right, yeah. So now this is hard-coded, right? And we can bind this thing. So we can use vbind disabled, and then whatever JavaScript we have here. It could be true, or it could be if the counter is 0. Jason, yes, I used Firebase once with Vue.js to try some things. It worked pretty well. All right, so now we have we bind this. So what does it mean? So first we evaluate this JavaScript code. If the counter is 0, then we pass on, we pass on whatever result is here. So this is going to be false or true, and we bind it to this this attribute disabled. So let's see if it works. We increment it, the button enables again, we go down again, and it disables. And hey Danny, thanks for joining. Amazing, thanks for making it. All right, so vbind. So when we bind something to an attribute of our HTML element, we just pass the JavaScript, whatever is in here, it evaluates it and it passes this on. And actually Vue has a shortcut or shorthand. We can just remove this vbind and it will still work. So the code looks a little bit cleaner and it does exactly the same thing. Let's just try it, and bam, there we are. Increment, decrement, and yeah. So this is already a great example for the counter. Thanks, Danny. All right, so now we could do something to do it more interesting. We could make something with arrays. That's always a great example. We could, for example, make a shopping list, and we see how far we can go with that. So I would just comment this out because we are not going to need it anymore. And we start here with shopping list. All right. Whoa, that's way too big. I could just use the H2. No, it's fine. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to have an array, and I want to display the items of that array here as a list. So let's get started with that. So first, what we need to do is we need to add another data variable that's going to be an array. So I just call it items. Oh, come on. Items. And it's going to be an array. It's going to be, for example, we want to shop for tomato, milk, and eggs. Pretty boring, but whatever. All right. Now we want to display this. So let's first see what happens when we just try to display this. By the way, I didn't. Thanks for tweeting this out, Danny. I hope many viewers come here now. Oh, thanks, Chris. The presence of the disabled attributes make it disabled. All right. What I missed to mention before is this mustache notion. How is it called? There we can pull things from our JavaScript code into our markup. So that's what these brackets are. So now when we want to evaluate what is in items, it will show us just the array, how it is. This is always great for debugging things. What I usually do is the following. I add this to a pre-element, and it looks a little bit nicer. So if I want to debug something, I just throw it in the pre, and we go from there. All right, so now we want to iterate through each and every element and show it, right? So let's go ahead and let's make an unordered list. And we have list items, and here we will display tomato and milk and eggs and so on. But we will see something now that's called v-for. So this is for iterating through an array in Vue.js. So we just iterate through item in items, and we see what happens. And here we can print out, again with the mustache notation, the item. And let's see what happens. All right, so now we have the list here. So I will take away this, or I will comment this out for the moment. So we have a little bit more space here. Come on. All right, so yeah, but we to make it a little bit more interesting, we can add some more attributes to these items. So let's delete it again, and we are going to add let's make it objects. So they will have an ID, they will have a name, tomato, and it will have a count. How many tomatoes do we want to buy? Do we want 1 or 2 or 3 or however? Yes, and we can copy this let's just populate this very quickly. What was it? Tomato, milk, right? And eggs. So when we save that now, we will see again that it's still displaying the list, but now it's displaying the entire object, which is not what we wanted. We just wanted to display the name attribute. All right, so all we have to do now is instead of just the item, which is now an object, wasn't before but is now, we just call item dot, and here is the name. It's this one, and it's the same as before. Perfect. All right, now we want to display also the count here, how many we are going to buy, so we can add it, we can increment it and decrease it. So all right, but let's go a little bit, let's make a short break and go very quickly through what we've seen so far. All right, so if you can't read all of this now because it's too small, it's not a problem. I'm not going to go into the details here, but what we learned so far is that you can integrate Vue.js in an existing project. In this case, the project was just an empty HTML site, but still in any website you have, if it uses jQuery, even if it uses another framework, React or Angular or Svelte or whatever, you could, if you wanted to, just make one small part of your project with Vue.js powered. It's like the same as Jinja template. Oh yeah, I read about Jinja, or I don't know how is it called, template, but yeah, but I didn't check it too much. Thanks Tim for coming. You have a great one. And Chris says that he likes console table. That's pretty useful for debugging. Yes, that's true. All right. Yeah, I was mentioning what we saw until now. So we saw that you can implement Vue.js in an existing project. You have this data thing, which is like the heart of your application in this case, where you have all your variables, and when the variable changes, the DOM gets updated. That's like the heart of your application. And you can have methods, which is a just a function that runs. We saw conditional rendering, so we can render a part of the DOM just if a certain condition is met, and we can iterate through some items with v-for. So that's what we saw till now. Hey, Kirill, thanks for joining. Yeah, you're still in time. We just made a little example of a shopping list where we iterate through an array of items. All right, so let's go back to coding. All right. Yeah, so I wanted to add a counter here that now I initialize with 1, and I want to also be able to increase and decrease that value. So let's just edit here the item.count. Oh, that's going to be like this, and then we want a button here. Button. Oh, come on, everything is so slow when I stream with this thing. I need to find another way to stream from my MacBook. This is horrible. Anyhow, here we also do again the click event, and here we decrease item count, or let's just say decrease count. And here, because we just want of one specific item that it should be decreased, we'll pass it here as an argument. So decrease item, decrease count of item, and we do the same for increase count of item. Here decrease is counter, well, count now, and we have as an argument we have item. Great. And instead of, it's not going to be again anymore as this, it's now going to be item, and it was count, not counter. Okay, dot count, that was the decrease, and we also have for the increase count. Oh, come on, item. Here we just go from the item, the count, we are going to increment it by 1. All right. It looks a little bit ugly, but it will serve our purpose, hopefully. Yes. Okay, so now we can, for each and every element individually, change the count. So how many tomatoes, how much milk, how many eggs we have to buy. All right, so this is already pretty cool, but hey Francesco, how are you doing? Thanks for joining this stream. All right, so now we have this, which is pretty cool, but I want that when it's 0, that it's basically off my list, but that I can add it back later. So what I want to do is a second list where I just list things that are off the list. Not that it's deleted from the list, but that it's, let's call it inactive, when it's I still want X in my shopping list, but I don't need it now. I might need it in 3 days when I go shopping. I add it back. So let's try that. So here we can implement something very cool that's called computed properties, which is something. So computed properties is basically a function which is executed only when the dependent values change. So for example, if we wanted a sum of how many items, or how many, let's make it easier, for how many items we have here in the list, in this case 3, so we can make a computed property. A computed property is like always based on the values we have here in the data, and it's only to show something. It's not, it's a function, but you won't manipulate data in this function. Let me show you very, very quick how it is. So here you have already your data, you have your methods, and now you add your computed properties, and it's just going to be called computed. And here, just for showing you how this works, amount of items is going to be function, and here whatever we return, we can access it as if it was a data variable. So let's here return this.items.length. So now if you want the amount of the items, we just return this, and let me show you here. Here we can just go amount of items. We don't need to call it with the parentheses or nothing. All right. So if we were to add an element here, it would jump up to 4. Hey Renee, thanks for joining. Nice. All right. Yeah, the cool thing about computed properties is that it's cached. So when you have a regular function, it runs every time you call it. But the computed properties is a function that's only called when one of the data changes. So in this case, we're only listening to the items. So if something in the items changes, in the item's length changes, this is going to be updated, and that value is going to be kept in the cache. So everywhere where it's called, it just pulls it from the cache. It doesn't need to recalculate it. So it's a nice performance improvement on this part. All right, but this was not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you, or what I wanted to do, is make like let's call it inactive items list. So when the count or the amount here is 0, I want to show it in another list. So not here anymore, but in another list. So let's go first and make an inactive items computer property. And here we filter out all the elements where the count is 0. So we return items, and then we filter it where the item.count is 0. All right, that should work. And we are not displaying it anywhere, so not the point. But let's just print it out as an array here. We will deal with it later. Okay. So now everything that's 0 is going to be automatically here in displayed as an inactive item. So if I add others here, so I just noticed I have everywhere minus here instead of plus. Just let me. That's what you get when you copy paste everything. All right. Plus. Okay, makes a lot more sense now. So oh, come on. All right. Oh, this is horrible. I'm never going to stream it with my Mac again. All right. So yeah, so we created now basically a list that's like a subpart of this list of the original items list. What I want to do now is another one that's in case of inactive items, like just the active items. So that's going to be this list. So when it's 0, it jumps to the other list automatically. So let's active items, and here we have, instead of it when it is 0, we have the counterpart when it is not 0. And here, instead of iterating through the items, we iterate through the active items. Let's save that. All right, so now the when it's 0, it jumps to the other list, and it's eliminated from this list. So that's because the filter here it applies. So just to be clear, we still have our items array, which has all the items that are in here, still the 3 items, just that we use a computer property to split those lists. So let's make it a little bit prettier here. We can copy this. Come on. Oh, come on. All right, let's go. Oh, it doesn't react at all on my commands. Okay, so we have one active list and one inactive item. So this is going to, oh, come on. All right, so now we have, let's make it a little bit clearer here. We have here the, come on, the active items, and then we have here the inactive items. To make it a little bit more visual, let's take away this. All right, so now when something is 0, it appears in the inactive list. All right, so this is pretty cool. We can still add it, but we don't need to display here the amount because we know it's 0, so we can take that out. And we also don't need to decrease it because we know it won't. And we just, instead of plus, let's just add like an arrow to push it up to the other list. Hello. There we go. All right. Let's try. Well, I will take away this because it confuses me. All right. So now we have an active list of things we need to buy. We can increment this, and when it goes to 0, it goes to, let's say, an inactive state, and we can add it back later. So let's say we have this list, and we're like, okay, now today I don't need any milk. I just take it away from the list. But then next week when I go shopping, oh yeah, I need milk. I add it here, and then I can increment how many whatever I need. So this is pretty neat. So now we iterated through things. We add some methods. We now have computer properties. We learned what that is. And what now I want to show you is data binding. Oh, sorry. Yes, I want to show you data binding, two-way data binding. So I will add an input field where I enter a text, and that text is it changes the data variable. So we will see in a second what that is. Thank you, Danny. I love the turnout. 10 viewers, which is more than most of my Decoding the Code episodes. All right. So I will add this input, and you will see what I mean. So we have this input. It's going to be a text input. So this is just a regular, good old regular text input. You know what? I'm going to make it a form. I don't need an action. And here we're going to have an input, and we are going to have a button. That's a submit button. And here add item. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like when I enter something here and I go to add item. Now it reloads the site. We will get to that in a minute. But what I wanted to show you is when I go again here, I make another pre, and I type out, let's call it new item text, or new item name. And we need to add it here as data property because it's going to be variable. It's going to change. So let's initialize it with empty. And so now it's going to be unimpressive because it's not going to show anything. But when we enter here in our input, we call it vModel, and then we bind it to our new item name. So what is this doing? So this pulls the data that is in the variable, but also updates it whenever the input value updates. So let's go here, and we initialize it with a test item. So you see it pulls the data, it displays it here, but when I change it, the text changes as well. Pretty neat. So this is pretty cool. So we have a variable we can access here in our methods, which is a text, and we want to add a new item. So now what we have to do, so I will remove again this pre. Yes, Jason, maybe we will see storage in another time, maybe some asynchronous storage instead of the local storage, but yeah, the example would make a lot more sense if it was if it had some sort of storage, but we will in another some other day we will see that. All right, so now we need to add here on submit. So every time when we have on in Vue, you think at submit or on submit, and then let's say add new item. We don't need to pass anything because we have access to everything we need. And then we will write a new function here. How was it? Add item, add new item. Yes. Oh, we don't need to pass an item. This was the autocomplete. So what do we do here? Here we need to push something to our array. So it's just still an array. So to the items. And remember, we are not going to change anything in the active items or inactive items. These are based on the data properties which are here. So we are just going to edit these. We are not going to edit anything with the active or inactive items, just with the items. So we push something there. What do we push? So what was it? It had an ID. It had a, come on, it had a name. And it had a account. All right, so the ID. Here we had ID 1, 2, 3, so it's going to be the position in the array plus 1. Let's just keep it that way. We could do something, generate a random ID, but we're going to just do items.length plus 1. By the way, nobody corrected me. I made a small mistake. I will show you in a second what it is. But let's finish this first. So here we have the ID. We have the name, which is going to be this new item name, which relates to this new item name, yeah, in the data. And as a count, let's just initialize it with count 1. All right, so now I'm going to show you very quick the mistake I made. In Vue.js, for every v4, you need to pass a key. So Vue can distinguish the values. So it needs to have a key, and this should always be unique. If not, you're getting in trouble. And also Vue shows you a warning. But here we can just say item .id. That's why initially I added the ID here. This needs to be also for every v4. You need a unique per item, a unique identifier or a unique key. This is the ID. All right. So let's get back to our add a new item. So we have here test item, and when we add it, you can see it gets added and then it gets taken away again. And when we take a closer look, the website reloads. This is because on submit there's this default things that the browser does on the submit, and by default it reloads the page. So we want to prevent that. So what we could do, one way, is here we have add a new item, and we pass the event, and here prevent default. This is one way we could do things. But in Vue there's a nicer way to do this. It's called modifiers. In this case, event or click modifiers, click event modifiers. So I can just add here dot prevent, and then it does that for me. I can also put dot stop. Then I think it's doing the, how is it called, stop propagation or something, or yeah. But however, here when we have the prevent, it automatically does that prevent defaults for us. So let's try it again. And when now we add something, the reload of the site doesn't happen anymore. So this also works with enter here because it is a submit button. Something that is now missing in our code is that you see the text here when I send it off, it doesn't get erased. So we need to erase this so it's more user friendly. So all we have to do is we add the elements to the array, and then we just clear it. So what do we clear? Here the new item name, and we just set it to nothing, to an empty string. So this works because of the V model, the two-way binding. Where is it? Here. This works because this is two-way bound to the name. So that updates. So, and let's put it here as a default value nothing as well, or an empty string as well. All right, so now we can add something. We need beer, we need pizza, something more exciting, and there you go. We can take it off from the list, and then we can add it back to the list. And one very last thing I want to show you is let's just add a delete button to delete the thing from the entire list, not just set it deactivate, but delete it entirely. So you can maybe guess what we need to do now. We need to go ahead. First we need to add a button. Here is a button. Let's just do we have a trash can here? Trash can, delete it entirely, and we say delete item. All right, now it's going to not happen anything because the function is sorry, my dog is okay there. This little rascal fighting with other dogs. Let's see here. This is now a famous dog. Her name is Yoda, just as the Yoda from Star Wars, and she likes fighting with other dogs. All right, someone told me that dogs and cats are great for video streaming, so thank you, Yoda. All right, let's get back to coding. All right, so nothing happened yet because we are missing a function here. How was it? Delete item? Oh no, not the computed. This was an error from me, mistake from me. We need to add a deleted item function. Oh, thanks for coming, Danny, and enjoy your lunch. All right, so we delete the item. What I like to do is I just filter the list. There's probably another way to do it, but it somehow feels natural to me. So I filter it. Let's just call this new item. And so when the item is the new item, no, when the item is not the new item, we want to have it, sorry, we need to reassign this. here we go. Let me scroll a little bit. So this is our delete function. We filter the items, and we only set the items that are not the it's not a new item, it's a deleted item. Deleted item. All right. Okay, so now when we delete it, it disappears completely. So I can add some things. When I put it on to 0, it goes down, but when I delete it, it's gone forever. But yeah, one cool thing we can also do something cool. We can make our shopping list, to give it a last touch, to mark it as done. So we are shopping and we click each item. I got the milk, I got the tomato, I got the pizza and the beer. So we see on our list that we actually bought it, but we don't just want to set it in the inactive pile. We want to just mark it as okay, so it's a little bit distinguished from the other list. So we need to add a checkbox here. And it's also going to have the two-way binding. So it's going to be Vue model, and it's going to be, let's just add something here. It would be something like this. Let's call it is checked true. Let's just leave this here for the moment so we can see immediately what it does. So here we have the item dot is checked. So this checkbox is going to be checked when the item is checked is true, and if not, it's not going to be checked, and it's also going to modify that. So this is pretty unspectacular, so we don't see much. But what we can do, we could make a strike through this. That's one option we could do. We could put it gray or green. We could make it green and maybe strike through. However, we yeah, what did I want to do? Let's so we learned about the data binding with this. So remember this v bind. So we just want to bind it one way. The style. So and as a style we can pass actually an object. And when we have here, for example, let's just say color red, like this. It's not working. Why is it not working? All right, not on the checkbox. Here, let's just put this in a span. And here, hold on. Where's my crap? Oh, okay. Here, there we go. Of course I copied it in the wrong part. Okay. I wanted to edit here in the span. So now the span is going to be red always. So here we could add a style, and we could just call this item style, and instead of just accessing the data here, we're going to create a function or a method that does this for us. So what we're going to do is what was it, item style. We need to pass the item, and then we can so now it would again oops, don't forget to put your commas here. All right, so again it doesn't work. Why not? Item, where is it? Here, item, style. Hey Scott, thanks for joining. I'm so glad you made it. So we passed the style object, and oh yeah, I know why. We need to pass the item here. Duh. All right, now it's always going to be red. So now we can distinguish between if the item is checked, return one thing, and if not, return or in fact return nothing, or return an empty object. So when it's checked, we can, for example, make the color green and make what is it, text decoration. Is it line through? It's line through. Yes. All right. So great. So now we have this this method which reacts to the is checked. So it returns a different style which is applied only to this pen. So we see what is checked, what is not checked. So there we go. We can check it. So we bought the eggs. We bought tons of milk. Tomatoes we don't need, but we're missing some beer, some pizza, and some what? Hot dogs, whatever. And a lot of beer, some pizzas, some hot dogs, not that many milk. There we go. Hey Claude, thanks for joining. All right, so this is let me go to the intermission screen here. I need to all right, so what we did, let's make this a little bit bigger here. Well, not too much bigger. All right, so what we have here now is the following. We saw how to iterate through items. We saw that there are methods we can call from within our application. Scott, my kind of shopping list. I'm glad you can agree with this. All right. Yeah, we saw that there is something like it's called event modifier. There are also event modifiers for the tell me, for the input, for the for key events. For example, also for the two-way binding. Let me show you real quick. So if we add something like ABC and then spaces, we would need to trim this. So, and in order to avoid writing more code in Vue.js, you could just do something like vmodel period trim, and it's going to trim this stuff for us. I'm not going to show you now because I think we are running not out of time, but it's already been an hour and people might get bored of this. Anyway, something nice to remember. Remember modifiers, event modifiers. You can look it up in the documentation. The Vue.js documentation is actually pretty neat on that. You can find things pretty quickly. So there you can have, you can also concatenate those. So you have trim let's say you have a click event, and you can do .write .prevent, so it prevents the default and it's only reacting on the right click, for example. So in that case you wouldn't see the context menu, I think. So if now we click here, right, this happens. If now we go here which one was it? Add item, this one. So we have here add click right prevent. Then we would of course need to do something. We do nothing. I don't know if this works, but yeah, it works. So yeah, so this way you can easily do something you would need like a few lines of code in JavaScript. You can do it within your markup, so it's a little bit more comfortable. All right, so I think we are through here. Hey, Luc, thanks for joining. Hey, Emmanuel. Please use word wrap on VS Code. I have word wrap, but you are right, it is very long. I have it on 120 characters because I usually use it on a larger screen, but you are completely and entirely right. It should be better now. Or not? Yeah, it's better now. Okay. All right, so yeah, does anyone have some questions? Let me go to the other so you can see me. Come on. Oh, this is so slow. All right, so are there any more quick questions for me? Obviously nothing specific because I don't think I have time to show a lot of things, but if you have a question, just ask. Could also be a question that's not related to Vue or to this specific examples. If not, if there are no more questions, I would thank each and every one of you for joining me on my very first stream. It's been great having you. Thank you for the great turnout. I hope all of you subscribed and gave a thumbs up to the video. This was my first live stream coding. I had live streams with interviewing people, but this is the first one coding. It's a lot harder than it looked initially. So there are some things going on which you can't always control. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining. And the next, I don't know yet when it's going to be, probably next week, is going to be about components. So we have a lot of code in one on one place, and there is a way to do it way easier, which is called components, and that that we're going to see in the next video. And all right. Needed some water for that throat for talking for an hour straight. All right, so again, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for your comments and your help when I messed up. And I hope to see you guys in the next stream. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.